Hello, beautiful boss babes. Are you ready to chase life with Kelly? Well, I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I'm so excited you're here. We are going to talk about all things love, dating, relationships, money mindset. We're going to dive deep into self-love, worthiness. I am going to bring on some incredibly empowering guests. We're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, and perhaps we're even going to shed some tears together. I am here to empower you, inspire you, and motivate you to create the life you crave. I am so excited for today's episode. Let's dive in. Hi, babes. Welcome back to the Chase Life with Kelly show. I'm your host, Kelly Chase, as you know. I have such an awesome guest on today, and I'm so excited to talk with her. First of all, I just wanted to say, y'all, I'm a big manifestation person, and yes, okay, I was on a TV show, whatever, but I don't know, I had to say yes to that opportunity, but this is just all put me in situations where I'm meeting just really fabulous and incredible people. And this is one of those incredible and fabulous people that I follow along on her journey on social media. And, I probably would have never have thought that would have ever connected, but here she is. She's on the pod this week, and I'm so excited for you guys to get to know her. She is Michelle Young, former Bachelorette. She is also an educator, television personality, speaker, and activist. She inspires many, many people's lives. Her persona exudes charisma and positivity, and her message is strong and passionate. A wealth of experiences have led Michelle to become a powerful presence in the entertainment industry, field of education, and public speaking arena. So welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I, first of all, want to, I want my audience to get to know you. I mean, I know that there's some of my listeners obviously have probably watched your season and everything, but some may not, so they may not be familiar with you. So would love for them to just get to know Michelle Young, not as the Bachelorette at first. So
please.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, guys, we were more than just the reality show that we were on, I promise. So yeah. So where are you from? Kind of give me a little background on you.
Yeah. So for those listening, I grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota, and Minnesota is, I don't even know if this is a good analogy or comparison or a bad one, but you know how when someone takes part in CrossFit that they constantly talk about CrossFit, and it can be a lot, but it just shows you how passionate they are about that thing. I feel like that's Minnesotans to a heart. And so people from Minnesota are constantly talking about Minnesota. So I am a diehard Minnesotan. Grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota, grew up playing a ton of sports. My family was very sports oriented, and I ended up going to play Division I basketball in college. And from there went on to be a teacher. And so I've always been a very passionate person, I always have had that internal drive, intrinsic motivation, always knew I wanted to make a massive impact, the biggest impact I could as possible. And that's kind of what led me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, I love that. I played intramural basketball when I was younger, so I have the passion for the basketball myself.
Yes, I love that.
I never made it out of there, but I wasn't that good. But I have a mean shot. People are like, Kelly, you're 5'2", and you can actually shoot a basketball. I'm like, yeah, I can.
Honestly, 5'2", if you're scrappy, you're quick, you can handle the ball. If you're shorter, you're definitely harder to guard. Especially as us, I can't even call myself tall. I'm 5'9", but in basketball world, I'm really not that tall. Everybody's 6 foot higher. Exactly. So if you're lower to the ground, I mean, it might seem like a disadvantage, but you're actually really hard to guard. Because I have to get down on your level, you can just go around us.
Weasel around. That's so true. Oh my gosh. What would you say? Okay, so obviously now you have a huge platform, and you utilize different social media, but prior to being the Bachelorette and being on the Bachelor, how are you creating impact before?
Yeah. So I do get this question a lot with did you ever plan to have this big social media platform? And, with reality TV or just the way that our world works, now, so many people strive to be an influencer or strive to have that like social media presence. And that never was the case for me. I actually got social media like 2.5 years ago, really
Uh-huh.
like 3 years once COVID hit. And it was never my priority to, be about the likes or the follows or anything like that. Mine was just really focusing on being present and making as big of an impact as possible in my community. So whether that was volunteering, whether that I did a lot of mentoring, I did a lot of, coaching or training of just younger girls, especially in the basketball environment. And that's kind of where I saw my impact. And as this social media world kind of started to develop, and the different opportunities that I accepted, I realized how I could kind of take my impact, to the next level. But social media impact was never my plan.
Mm.
It was, you talk about manifesting a little bit. I
Yeah.
manifested of wanting to make the biggest impact possible. But with that manifestation, it never was like specifically one outlet. This
Right.
is just the outlet that I kind of fell into.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, like what I've learned about manifestation is it's like, you work towards something, you have to take those inspired actions, but it's like, okay, maybe you're working towards an ideal image of something happening, but you have to be open to the possibilities of it not being that exactly and it being an equivalent or something even better coming in. So I feel like that's just what you did, you leaned into it.
Yeah, it's like manifesting that end goal that you want to get to, but also being really open to like the avenue or the way that you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you were a teacher and I know that you held on to teaching after the show aired too. So you were juggling. I understand this life. I'm sure that you probably experienced quite burnout.
Yes.
Like extreme because I was working full time too when Love is Blind aired as well. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and I stayed with the company for a little over a year after Love is Blind aired, and I was not in a good space. It was bad.
It's a lot. And I think that's one thing that's really hard is when your life is changing so quickly. And
Yeah,
it's not, everyone talks about this overnight change that happens, and it's like somewhat overnight, but it's not overnight at the same time.
right.
And you hold on to the pieces of you that are still very much the same. And a lot of that for us is our profession
Yeah,
or the things that we're passionate about. But as those are playing out, and maybe they would have played out, like for me, teacher burnout would have played out regardless. It just
right.
probably was expedited a little bit more with the combination of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
so maybe who knows, I would have made it another year until I hit that burnout point. But again, being on the show, teaching through COVID, that was enough burnout. COVID teaching enough without the show was burnout enough in itself. But
Right.
yeah, nobody like talks about that feeling of you are so passionate, but you just can't mentally do it anymore. And you have to take a step aside. And
Yeah.
it's weird because it's like that's the thing that you've been holding on to because that's like your last little piece of normal as your entire life is changing.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's so powerful too. That's exactly what it is. I think we do that with a lot of things. We have such a hard time letting go of, whether it's a former relationship or something, because it's like it used to be like this and it used to be so good and we want that, we still want to cultivate that and have that memory versus, leaving something because we're burnt out of it or something else is, creating kind of just like toxic environment for us altogether. But what like as far as like when you were I'm losing my train of thought, teaching and everything. So how long did you continue in education before you let go of it?
So I was in my 5th year of teaching
Okay.
as I was on my Bachelorette season. So
Mhm.
I taught through when I was a contestant on Matt James season. So I taught that full year, even when the show was airing. And then as I was the Bachelorette, I still continued to teach through that next school year. And so
Wow.
total of 5 years of teaching. And as I like neared the end of that, and as that season, as me as the lead, was pretty much the entire school year, in combination of like wrapping up filming, gearing up for everything to start everything airing, including the finale. So like, it's actually really kind of crazy to think about it as I'm sitting here, because I ended filming. So like, if you think of school year, September to June.
Right.
So if you think of a school year, I geared up, it was announced that I was going to be the lead. I did my filming, wrapped up my filming, geared up for the entire airing of everything, the premiere, all that excitement, went through the entire year of it getting, released on a week by week basis. And then now we're out here, like, we can talk about our engagement, and then the breakup in one school year. Literally.
Wow.
It was crazy. It's absolutely crazy to think about.
Oh
So
my gosh. What was going, like, okay, so did you guys ever go back into the schools during this time? Like, were you back in, physical location, or were you always
I was like,
on the
like
school?
the whole time as all of this was airing. And like I said, I wrapped filming September. So I remember I got engaged, or there's the proposal. We ended filming, and 2 days later, I was starting the school year. So I only really missed 2 days of school with my new group of students before I came in as Miss Young.
Wow.
It was a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, that is. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What did you do, like, just to keep yourself grounded and connected so you didn't go crazy?
I think the normalcy of my administrator did such a great job with really like building this environment of, when Michelle steps in the school, she's Miss Young. She's not there. Like, there might be other teachers who are Bachelor fans, or other parents or families who are Bachelor fans, but he did such a good job of just accumulating this environment of Miss Young is Miss Young, and that's where she goes as, that's what we're talking about. And so really, I wasn't stuck in a school where I was getting asked questions left and right.
Yeah.
It was really like, if there was something that I needed to talk about, or if I needed support on, my coworkers and the people around me would be there to listen and to help me through it if I brought it up. But if I didn't bring it up, it was just a normal day. And so I think that's what I held on to, is because as social media like reacts to what's going on in the screen, or, there's the latest gossip, or the tabloids, or just different things that are happening, as in reality TV, I really could tune that out and put it down. And nobody forces you to be normal like kids do, because the chaos continues regardless of what you have going on in your life. Like, chaos is going to break out every single day with fifth graders. And so they really helped keep me grounded in that, and keep me grounded in that normalcy.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they brought you back to the present moment, which I think is, what we, I think,
too much.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think, like, people who, I mean, and I struggle with this myself, but, with anxiety, and people who struggle with anxiety, it's like, because we're constantly like thinking about what we could have done in the past, or what we could be doing to, do something with our future. So I think that's a really just cool concept, in a sense of like, okay, kids, they really do bring you to the present moment, and that's where we need to stay, so that we're not constantly thinking about the future and the past.
Oh, absolutely. And like, fifth graders, especially in today's day of age, like, you don't have time to overthink anything. Nothing.
Oh my God. How has fifth graders changed? Like when you remember you being in school and you being a fifth grader, like, I mean, sometimes, like, I mean, granted, I'll be 40 soon. I'm sure some of my friends from high school already have like 10, 11-year-olds, so it's like, but things that I see, like, obviously social media didn't exist back then for us. Right. So it's like this whole new world. And I'm like, oh my God, my parents sheltered me from a lot of things, but could you imagine if we had social media?
It's been really, I will honestly probably describe it as, I've talked about this to like fellow teachers as well. Like, it has been kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Just with watching fifth graders and what they know already at this age. And especially, they have platforms like TikTok and Snapchat that they have access to. And they just learn or not even learn, but just are exposed to so many other things that we weren't exposed to. And so it's like the things that we used to do of running, like getting home and doing your homework really quickly so that you could go play outside with your friends, whether it was capture the flag, cops and robbers, like whatever game, outdoor game you were playing. It was all about just like creating your own fun around the neighborhood. And now it's so much of like TikTok trends and gaming trends and video games and just all of these things. And it's really just kind of hard because they don't get to be a kid, or what they feel like being a kid is not really what being a kid is about anymore.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so sad to just watch and see. And there's some really cool things that happen with it. And I've watched fifth graders who are just 10 and 11-year-olds create these massive movements of wanting to make change. And they have that drive because they learn about so many other things now at like a quicker rate. But
right. That's true. Yeah.
There's always pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we had video games obviously when we were growing up too, but that was something my parents were like, no, you're going to be outside. You're going to be outside. If it's raining, we're going to do arts and crafts or go play with your Barbies, use your imagination, do something.
Yeah, and it just didn't draw you in as much. Like they weren't as, with video games, you would play it. Like I remember playing Mario Kart with my brother, right? But it was him and I playing Mario Kart, getting into a fight between him and I. Right. Now it's like with these kids, you have to wonder or worry about like they're playing Call of Duty with somebody who's all the way across the world, who's 20 years older than them. Like you don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
That's where it's like there's just so many just different pieces that we have to worry about nowadays.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, how has it been since leaving the education space as a teacher?
It's been difficult. It's been really difficult because just because you leave something, I kind of always compare it to a relationship where even when you step away, that doesn't mean that you just stop caring about it. And so I mentally really had to step away from teaching, and I was exhausted and I wasn't recharging over the summers. But also at the same time, it's like I still have that passion. So it's very heartbreaking in the sense of like right now, it's not the time for me to be in a classroom, but you have to find that new footing of like, what passions do I have outside of the classroom? You know, how do I value? How can I apply myself outside of the classroom when I spent or just not my entire life, but a good part of my life? How am I going to apply myself as a teacher? And, you know, you go to school for education. Like even when I was going through undergrad, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. And so much of my life, I knew that that's where my passion was. Yeah. And so now that I've had to readjust, you definitely go through some just very uncomfortable moments where you have to learn how to find passions on the other side. You wake up in the morning and you miss it. I miss it a ton. I miss the kids a ton, you know, but that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be back in the classroom right now. So it's been a confusing, but like soul searching time as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I can relate to that. Not obviously, I was never a teacher. I wanted to be. My mom was a teacher for 15 years. She taught kindergarten. So it was a lot. So not to say that she, you know, I'm angry or disgruntled in the sense. I mean, everything worked out as it was supposed to, but teaching was one of the things that I wanted to do. But because of her experience, she was like, it's just gotten so political. It's just not like, we don't get paid enough for what we do. And you know, it was just a lot. And she was like, I'm looking out for your best interest. So please don't become a teacher kind of thing. She's like, I mean, if you really want to, it's fine. But like, I think you could do better with your life in a sense. And I was like, okay. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do going into college. And so, you know, I really didn't discover my purpose, passion, I guess, until the last few years. And like, I do coaching. So like life coaching, health coaching, that type of thing. And you know, it's funny because like I speak to other coaches and entrepreneurs and they're like, you're a teacher at heart. I mean, you like to teach people things. And I'm like, I know. That's why I wanted to be a teacher since I was like 4. Yeah. So you will find it. Like you will find a different way of how you can create that impact and also teach. It's just a different way, and you can always probably get back into a school if you wanted to and teach again.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. I do have a really great just group of women who are behind me, a team of women who, as I kind of move towards this motivational speaking and, I have my movement, my impact that I'm working on. It's just these moments where I feel unsure of myself, or I just am like, I'm really missing the classroom. They are there to remind me that, okay, well, like you've just expanded your classroom. It's not that you've left you've left your physical box of fifth graders that you were with, but like essentially like you're now just a teacher of life and you're making your impact, and like life is your classroom and not just this small classroom now. And so that's kind of what helps get me through that. But like you said, very much just figuring out what parts of teaching are on this side of the walls.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So maybe what are some things as far as like, obviously you just said like motivational speaking. What are some topics that you hone in on when you are aiming to do a speaking gig?
It really just kind of depends on like the audience that I'm speaking to. And so really when it comes down to it, like if I'm speaking to high school and that kind of demographic, it really goes into acceptance and, really embracing who you are as an individual, and also accepting others around you and who they are, and the mental health that comes with social media and how that really can impact you. And so like during that demographic, that's what I really focus on, is because social media is a huge part of their world. Whether they're on social media or not, it's what's being talked about. It's how they're communicating. It's what trends are going on. And everything has consequences, whether they're good consequences or bad consequences. And so that's definitely the avenue that I speak with that. As far as like women, it's like women embracing themselves, being confident, not being scared to take up space. My personal journeys with anxiety and different things that have come through that. And then like that education kind of category comes from advocating of what we need in our classrooms, what teachers need, what I saw when I was in the classroom. And so it kind of really just depends on what group of people I'm speaking to, but really trying to go off of like my unique experiences to really create that relationship with whoever I'm speaking to.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I think we're all multifaceted human beings, and that's,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we really are, but foundation is like, just the self-empowerment and self-love. And I think that's, if that's at the root of all of your talks, that's what everybody's going to feel from you and whatnot. So I love that. I'm like, it's funny because like my coaching, I just had a strategy call with someone before we hopped on, and I was like, I've studied so much about how like the mindset, like how the mind works and how it literally controls everything. I was like, so if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm having like relationship struggles, I'm like, okay, well, let's navigate that area. I'm like, I can teach people how to like launch online courses and do the like strategy, digital course creation, that kind of thing. I'm like, I'm so multifaceted. I think it hurts me sometimes because I'm like, people are like, wait, what does she do? We're like all over the place. And I'm getting more into public speaking myself, motivational speaking. And I'm like so pumped, but also scared at the same time.
It does seem like a very like daunting task. And I think the biggest thing that even as I've like made this transition that I've started to learn is that, when you walk into a room, especially if you're like known from reality TV or the people who look up to you, they see you as this perfect image of a person who like carries themselves well at all times. They've seen through different trials and they've seen how you've handled yourself. And like, those are the things that they admire. But really like the times where I feel like I've been or realized I'm the most valuable is when I can share like my imperfect moments and vulnerable moments, or like my moments where I've made big mistakes. And like that right there, regardless of the pedestal that anyone else puts me on, it's like my mistakes, my trials, my tribulations, my weak moments, or the things that I thought were weak in my life that really actually do the work and send the biggest message to these other people. So that's what I've kind of focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's the beautiful thing. Just sharing our story in general, it helps others feel less alone. And it's a part of like the healing process. I always say that, like healing ourselves, but every time that we share, we're helping to tap in and heal someone else, give them that power too. So I just love that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to talk about like dating stuff soon, but I'm like so focused on this other stuff right now. Okay. So like you didn't really have social media. You weren't really big on social media up until a few years ago. So how has that, um, how has that impacted you? How has that changed your life?
Ooh, it's a lot. I would say, yeah, it's impacted my life a lot. I think the hard piece is that, like, when you are a content creator, you naturally have to focus on like the data part of social media and
Yeah.
like engagement and all this other stuff. And like for me, I just have never been about that. And so it's really hard to like all of a sudden switch myself to caring about that. I still could care less about it.
Right.
I've had
Right.
to like rewire my brain of like, okay, like I want people to connect with this and I want this to make like the things that I post, I want it to touch somebody. And I've also had to like put up a wall and protect myself in the sense of post what you Michelle wants to post. Because like
Right.
I can't just like post for what the people want because that's also not genuine to me
Yeah,
either.
right.
But
Absolutely.
it is just a really weird world that you have to think about in like business terms and
Mhm.
everyday life, because if I were to go about my life, honestly, I'd forget that I have social media.
Yeah,
Truly. And I would prefer to connect with people in person, but
totally.
I do see the benefits of social media in the sense of like impact of me being able to reach somebody, you know, across the world. I had someone from South Africa who messaged me the other day and was like, I watched your season. I connect with you. I've been following on the podcast that you've been on. And I just really want you to know that you helped me through this really difficult time in
Mm,
my life where I was going through a breakup. That right there, that's why I love social media, is because
right.
I was able to access that person. They were able to connect to my story and I was able to help them through something. But like the other like little pieces of like the drama and the tabloids and all of that,
Hmm.
I could do without that.
Yeah, we can do without.
I literally could do without that. Right. Like the chat, like just like the gossip, the drama, the like the parts that make us feel icky.
Yeah,
When you're like, okay, I gotta log off for the day because like I just feel anxious all of a sudden.
yeah,
I wish I could do without that stuff.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I definitely. It's so crazy because I'm hyper aware of when I've like been in like the scroll game, and all of a sudden I'm like, why do I feel this like like I am anxious, yet
Yeah.
I feel like
You're in a
totally
funk.
like, yeah, I'm in a funk. I'm like really like insecure about myself. And because obviously I'm like consuming all this information and photos and all the things. And I'm like, wait a
Right.
second, Kelly, like reconnect to yourself. And it's happened multiple times. Like it's crazy because pre Love is Blind, I felt like I did use social media for like my health coaching brand, and I was, a personal trainer and that kind of thing. And so I was connecting people with people through Instagram back then. But everything just felt really good. And now, like you were talking about the data, like really leaning into the data aspect, and you don't want to feel ingenuine. So it's been hard to navigate myself, even to like be like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to post something that is genuine, but it also has to like reach the audience so that they engage. Because like I post things about like my brand or whatever, and like the algorithm does jack for that.
Algorithm.
It's the
Oh,
worst.
like algorithm, like that word, the fact that that word is like life or death, the word
Yeah,
algorithm is like,
it's terrible.
mm,
It's
I
terrible.
hate
Like,
it.
I'll like create this like, I mean, from the heart, this like
Uh,
intense, this like emotionally connecting caption, and my engagement is like
jack shit.
as if I didn't have a following. Like I'm like, what? Like why? Like okay, so what do I need to do? Like a get ready with me. I need to show people a hair tutorial. I need to do makeup. Like I am more than that. I can't just do that.
And like that's so hard too, because it's not like it's just the app. It's also like what we are willing to consume as well.
Right.
And it's when it comes down to it, it's really just like finding your niche, finding your group of people who connect with the same pieces as you.
Right.
Also, sometimes you don't have control of where your stuff is blasted either.
I know.
On social
Totally.
media. Oh, it's just like this. It's this it's this cycle, and it's all about balance.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I'm glad we're on the same page. So we struggle with that.
100%.
Oh my
Great
gosh.
relationship with social media.
Yeah. How has just being in the public eye in general for you, how has that like positively and negatively impacted you?
I think it has, I'm very extroverted. And so being around people is where I recharge.
Mhm.
And, going out and doing something social, whether it's like an activity or just like being out in public, shopping, running errands, like that's where I get my energy. I love it. And with kind of coming off of this, it's not overnight fame, but right, like you're in the public eye, you get noticed. There's definitely more anxiety where it's like I can't just like pick up and go somewhere, because now it's like you worry about people taking pictures, and it's not this like daunting thing, but it's just something that's always in the back of your head, and so it does create a little bit more anxiety with it. So I've had to kind of, I haven't even figured it out yet, but like learning how to recharge in different ways that are like introverted ways, but you don't just like flip from an extrovert to an introvert overnight. You have to so it's like I'm trying to now figure out how to recharge by reading or, doing something that's not in public. Whereas before I would recharge by just like going out and doing something fun. But now that's just more of a, different task, because you're interacting with fans, and you're taking pictures and doing all these other things, which I don't mind doing necessarily. But it's just different.
Yeah, I understand that. That's so interesting too. I'm like, maybe I am like, I feel the same way as far as like, I recharge when I'm around a lot of people. That's why, like, literally, I started a new job in December because that was a part of the reason I was in my house too much. Like, I was working for myself the last year and a half, and I was in my house so much. Although I could have, yes, I could work from wherever. Like, I was running my own business. I could work from wherever, but certain things that I was doing, like Zoom calls, I have to be in a quiet space. So I can't just work wherever. And it was just easier. Yeah, it was easier for me to just be home. Plus, I eat like a pretty, I don't know, regular healthy freak diet. So it's like, it's just easier for me to like be near my kitchen and be near my bathroom. So I wasn't leaving my house, and I recognized like it's affecting my mental health. Like, so I have to, and now my job that I have, it's an outside sales and marketing. So I'm like, I literally am out every single day or almost every day, and I'm meeting new people every day. So I'm like learning someone else's story or like challenging myself in new ways. And I'm like, this is what makes me feel alive. Like, I love it. Granted, I also have to like retract and come home and like have my solo time. Like, I do admire that, but there has to be that healthy balance. And there was not a healthy balance last year.
That's what I think I'm figuring out right now. Is just like, oh my God, why do I feel so just like, and blah? And it's like, cause I haven't left my house in 2 days. Cause I've been on Zoom calls, and it's just like, shoot, like I need to figure out something where I do better when I'm like, I'm just at home for sleeping.
Right. Yeah.
Everything else, I'm out there outside my walls of my apartment.
Yeah.
That's like when I thrive. So it's finding that balance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay. So what was I going to ask you next? What types of, and maybe this is something you're still working on, but like what types of like healthy boundaries have you implemented to stay connected to your like authentic self?
Really just like a routine. And learning, I was always a person where I would just go to burnout. So I'd have like burnout, like it got down to a science where like I would burn out twice a year. One right at like winter break where I'd get deathly sick, and two like right at summer where I'd get sick for like 2 weeks with like a mystery illness, and it would take me forever to like get my strength back, because I would just go until I couldn't go anymore. And so like really kind of like learning that now, so that I'm understanding of when I can't do everything for everybody else, because I can't say yes to every single thing, which I used to like to say, yes, I'll help everybody. But like now there's not enough physical time in the day for me to even figure that out. And so really learning of like, okay, am I just saying yes because I want to do that, or I don't want them to feel bad, but like learning when I can say no and saying that without feeling guilty.
Mm.
I'm such a yes girl. Like, yes, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's plan this. Let's do this. Of course I'll do that for free. Of course I'll go over here. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like you have to be able to say no. Otherwise you can't stay true to who you are, because then Michelle might be showing up, but it's not bubbly, energetic Michelle. It's
Totally.
her now having to put on a face Michelle. And that's
Mhm.
not healthy either. So
No.
learning to
Yeah.
say no. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No is a very powerful 2-letter word.
Yeah, without guilt. That's the
Yeah.
hard part. Because it's like if I say no, I understand why I said that. And
Yeah.
it's like I have to be okay with that. And I can't sit at home and feel guilty for however long the event's taking place that I said no. Like, no, you
Right.
said that for a reason so that you could give yourself a break, a mental health break.
Absolutely.
And like
Yeah.
that means that's taking that without you sitting there and feeling guilty. So that's not
Mhm.
a break, essentially.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a very powerful thing for me. I'm like a recovering people pleaser. And I mean, I was that yes girl too. And when you said you got sick like over winter break, that was like very routine for me because I was the same. Like I worked, my corporate job for a long time. But in addition, I've never only had like one job. I've always had multiple jobs, like side jobs and side gigs and things going on. So like, and there was a time for like a year and a half, 2 years, I was also bartending. So like I was never like catching a break and everything. And, on the nights that I'm not bartending, then I'm like out with my friends. And it was just this constant cycle. And every December, like for Christmas, years in a row, my mom would be like, you get sick every single Christmas. Like you have like some type of like sinus bronchial something going on. I'm like, I know
Anxiety.
it's because I'm slowing down and
Yeah, it catches up
that's
to
it.
you. It's like that's it. And like I used to plan for it. I
Right.
used to be like, people joke about like, hey, like, what are you doing this time? Oh no, I can't do it. I'm gonna be sick. But like literally, I'm gonna be sick because that's the one time a year my body slows down and
Yeah.
like it knows it everything just catches up to you the moment you slow down. So I
That's
feel it
so,
deeply.
so true. Well, I'm glad that you're learning to say no now and, prioritizing you because it really is important. It's so important. I mean, I could go into like a big whole spiel, but it affects your adrenals, it affects your hormones. Like it's, we have to think about it in that regard too. Like it can affect everything. And that's where I have been. I don't really know how I got into like a hormonal dysfunction again, but I know I have adrenal fatigue again going on. I mean, granted, yeah, I'm working a job and I have my business to run and everything too, but it feels a lot different now because I'm doing things that I actually enjoy doing. Whereas in the past, it's like the 9 to 5 that I didn't love. So that's why I was like working other positions because those were giving me my like I don't know, freedom and like passion, fulfilling my cup in those ways. But so when I got adrenal fatigue and was in burnout years ago, it just felt different than it does now. But I guess it's all the same. But it's hard to recover from. Like it's hard to
What are the symptoms of adrenal fatigue?
um you're really tired, you're really fatigued, you're really fatigued. Yeah. Yeah, you're really tired and fatigued. I want to say like it's hard to get going in the morning. That is one thing that I've recognized. Like our bodies, what the doctor was explaining to me, it's like obviously you just slept all night, so you should wake up and feel refreshed and energized and start your day. And yeah, you may start to like around 2 or 3 p.m. start to get a little tired or whatever. He said, but then, like 7 o'clock, you start getting tired because you're about to go to bed again, right? And he was like, but for you, you just slept 8 hours and you wake up and you're tired as if you only slept like 4 hours. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and then at 7 p.m., you catch like a second wind and then you're up for a few more hours. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
That's me. Well,
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah. You may have a little adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, well, shoot, teach me how to heal it. Cause dang.
Yeah. I mean, the boundaries thing is so important. Like pull back on a lot of things. I mean, last night even I had 2 podcast recordings and I was like, granted, I have some other like personal stuff going on and I was just like in my feels, feeling my emotions and everything. And I was like, I literally can't show up for this tonight. And I had to cancel both of the podcast recordings. I was like, we'll reschedule them. Like I can't. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm curious of how long does it typically take you to revamp from adrenal fatigue or like recover?
Um,
I'm sure it's dependent on the person.
yeah, I would say it is. And depending on just like other factors that are going on. I mean, again, I think just the more that you can implement those healthier boundaries for you, and do things that are going to work for you and not against you is going to help you recover faster from that. For sure. You can do some like meditating and yoga.
I need to. I need to, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time, so 2017, that was like when I left like corporate America. Like I was like, I'm never going back to corporate America again. Obviously I have a couple of times, but I was like, I have to change like everything because I was recognizing like I was just caught in these cycles. I mean, like I said, I was working multiple jobs, and then just like binge drinking on the weekends. And it was just like a constant cycle. My parents would come to my place, and not that I'm like an unclean person, but they're like, Cal, could you like your place is like, it's not dirty, but like you could, yeah, it was like cluttered. And they're like, do you clean? Like, have you cleaned your bathroom in a while? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I like spot clean, to like make it look like it was clean. But I just never had time, and or back then I was like severely hungover or something. So I was like, I have to change everything. Like my dating life was terrible. I mean, I was losing myself, like guy after guy after guy. And I just, I was like getting rejected and no one wanted to be with me. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I thought I was the problem. Right. So I just like 180'd my entire life. Like I stopped going out. I stopped drinking for a little while, like swapped everything for like reading and podcasting and meditation and doing yoga and things like that. And my friends were like, are you okay? Like my parents would call like on a Friday night and they're like, so are you going out with your girlfriends tonight? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to stay in. And they're like, are you depressed? Like, are you okay? Like they were legitimately concerned. I was like, I'm honestly fine. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And I didn't I mean, I haven't aggressively like gone out and like did that routine since 2017, probably. I mean, every once in a while I will still.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I had to make the change. I was like, enough is enough. This is not leading me to where I really want to be in life. And so I had to change. Yeah.
True. I think catering your weekends, like your entire week shouldn't be designated to catching up from what you did on your weekends.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
You can, there's a balance to it.
Yes.
A balance.
Yeah. It's all a balance. It's all a balance. But yeah, I definitely, just small baby steps. I mean, into, just look at your week ahead and see, okay, like I really want to go to this event. This one, maybe I don't necessarily need to go to, or maybe I don't need to be there for 3 hours. Maybe I can go and like show my face for like an hour and then go home, things like that. So it takes discipline. Cause then once you're there, you're like,
I know,
you're like, groove.
having so much fun, especially as an extrovert. You're like, I never want to leave.
Yeah. Like I went to a show on Saturday night and like I was driving some friends and they had to get home. But like the whole rest of the group, they were like, oh, we're going to go dancing like at the Warren or Johnny's Hideaway or whatever. And I was like, I kind of want to go with like, I still want to go. Like I want to be out, but it was already like 11:30. And I'm like, Kelly, you'll be tired tomorrow. You should probably just go to bed so that when Monday rolls around, you're not like trying to catch up on sleep from, your weekend and everything. So, I had to be a big girl and make that choice. But I'm like, maybe if I didn't have to drive my friends home, maybe I would have went out with them. 5 more minutes, just a little bit longer. But yeah, it just takes time, but it's a whole, it's a process of the like just self-love journey and all of that. So, it takes time. Speaking of love,
Look at that transition.
Yeah. So what were your dating experiences like before doing the shows?
I wouldn't say that they were non-existent because I definitely had serious relationships, but I think I really just struggled with being vulnerable. And I always really prioritized whatever. Like I was lucky enough to have, or I'm lucky enough to have like a lot of passions, and a lot of people I realize don't have things that they're passionate about, or they soul search for a very, very long time to find that. And I just grew up being very passionate about basketball, being very passionate about education. And so I kind of knew that, like finding that way or having that environment of playing basketball was just huge for me. And that's what I prioritized. And so, yes, I did date, but like the people who I were in relationships with really knew that like Spalding came first. Like, really? I mean, like literally it's like essentially like my family, Spalding, and then you.
Right.
And so that's kind of, I would always prioritize that, or prioritize teaching first. And I think after the show, I really learned what I wanted in a relationship. And I also really learned how to be vulnerable myself. And it was challenged with opening up and allowing someone to be there for you. Whereas like in sports, it's very much like rub some dirt on it, have tough skin and don't ever cry. And yeah, there's mental toughness, but like there's also a tough aspect of being very vulnerable. And that's the piece that I kind of came into after being on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So being vulnerable was a really big,
Huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge. Yep. Learning how to like talk about how you're feeling. And I really didn't. Like when I struggled, my family would know that I was struggling, but I wouldn't open up about it. Or if I had, I was a very opinionated person and I could debate all day. But like when it came to like lovey-dovey emotions or like my needs, my wants, or what I was struggling with, no, never would talk about it. So the show definitely challenged me to do that. And I saw a lot of just different benefits, and I saw a lot of different things blossom for even within friendships after being vulnerable and what it can do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I love that. I want to say the same thing for me. I mean, I would say I'm pretty transparent, like vulnerable already, but it did open up and expose me to a different layer of that. Like feeling maybe even being more vulnerable up front with people. Like, because it's like, it's maybe a controversial topic, but like when you're on like your first or second date and you like pour your heart out to someone, like, yeah, that could, maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you don't need to like project, but I don't do it in a projecting way. It's like, this is who I am. Like, this is stuff that is, I've gone through and whatever. And it's not like it's not like I'm having baggage right now and I'm like projecting all this drama onto the person. It's just, right, this is what I went through and this is what I've struggled with. And here I am today kind of thing. So, if they judge me or whatever, I'm like, well, that's not my person anyway. So it's like, exactly. And I'm looking to find someone that's like creates an emotional safe space for me. So if I can feel that within the first couple of dates that they've, created that space for me, then I'm like, okay, this is good. Kind of like cuts things out, get there faster.
It is weird to date after being on a reality TV show.
Like, yeah, I'm sure. How has it been? I want to say, I think that, okay, so our show was like, very international. And I mean, it's funny because someone asked me the other day, it was like a local like company, and they're like, oh, is Atlanta one, like in our insights, right? Is like Atlanta one of your like top cities? And I'm like, actually, no. like where I live, like, yeah, I guess not. I mean, people follow me, but like I have like Sao Paulo, Brazil. Like it's like one of my number cities that follow me. It's like funny, but The Bachelor is more US cultivated. Like you guys have such a strong presence in the US. So I feel like more people, like a lot of people like know you when you're out and everything. So I could imagine how dating could be different for you than me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I think it's also different between like girls and guys.
Yeah.
Because Bachelor, like the males who tend to be watching our show are like husbands and boyfriends. Like my platform followers, my demographics are pretty much 98% women.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, which I love because it's like women supporting women and you get recognized by women. And so, but it's like, I think a lot of people think that you have this like plethora of men after you go through this breakup, because it's like, oh, Michelle, the Bachelorette, is single. It's like, yeah, but all the people who know me are women.
Right. Yeah.
And all the men who know me are husbands and boyfriends and fiancés.
Yeah.
But I think just probably the hardest thing is you really drop everything when you're on the show. You drop your job, you're not talking to your family consistently, or you don't have any distractions. And so like you get right into it. And that used to seem like a really scary thing, but now it's like I'm sitting on first dates, I'm like, cut the bullshit. Like I don't want to know your favorite color. I mean, I care about it, but like I don't want to talk about your favorite color, your favorite food, you know what I mean? Like I want to get into the in-depth, like really get to know you, and I have to kind of like hold myself back a little bit on that front because that's not normal.
Right.
Talk about all this stuff. We're just, when you're on the show, it's like you really are challenged to talk about the deep shit right away because time is of the essence. And yeah, that's been the trickiest part.
Yeah. And I think that's probably where I was saying, like, I'm just like really vulnerable, like upfront with them. So like, because that's it. I do too. I want to like get to know like the real you. I don't care about the surface level stuff. And because we only had 6 weeks to like figure that out on the show before we may have gotten married.
Is it 6 weeks? I don't even know if it's that many.
It was like, it was 6 weeks, I think, because the first week we were like doing all the speed dating and Love is Blind. So
okay,
it was a total of 7.5 weeks total.
Okay, wow,
it was nuts. Swear I'm not crazy.
That's what I have to start with.
But I love that for you. But I love that for you as far as like just having that awareness and doing what you feel is comfortable. I mean, if it feels comfortable for you to like go deep with these people, do they know that you came from a show? Like, are a lot of the guys that try and go on dates with you, like, do they know you were on a show, or do you make that publicly known ever?
I don't think it. Honestly, I really don't say anything until it's said, just because I prefer, like, with me being on the show, like that's not what I lead with. That's not what I want someone else to lead with.
Right.
And like, I want them to get to know Michelle. And part of my life was on a show, but the show aside, I would never like walk up to somebody and be like, hi, I'm Michelle. I played Division I basketball at so-and-so. Like, you don't really like ever like walk up and accolades to anybody. Like, that's kind of weird. That's like, like, and I really want someone to get to know me regardless of if I was on the show or not. And so I don't lead with it whatsoever. And I mean, that's in friendships, that's with interactions in general. It's like, if they bring it up, okay, I'll acknowledge it. If I feel like it, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sometimes I just hardcore deny it, I'm like, we're not gonna talk about The Bachelor today, whatever.
That's so funny. I get because I mean, I physically look a little bit different than I did when I was on the show. And so, but people will be like, you look really familiar. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I have a twin out there.
I've been getting that all night. I don't know why people keep saying that,
Like,
familiar face, barely.
Yeah, it's so funny. No, I love that though. But I say be like, as if you're comfortable being forthcoming, be forthcoming. Like, because again, it's just gonna it's gonna weed out the people faster, in my opinion,
Yeah, it's true, and then you got to weed out if they're there for the right reasons or not.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy. Dating is so weird.
Okay.
It's so weird. I just professed my feelings for someone and it didn't work out. Which is fine.
Their freaking loss. It's their loss.
Yes.
And honestly, then you figure out like, okay, at least you're not wasting your time.
Exactly. Yep. My girlfriend was like, oh my God, Kelly, you've like gotten so much more confident. Like I would never like just come out and say, and I'm like, I mean, there was maybe a little bit of vodka involved that night. I was like, but I needed to say it. Like, I just needed to get it off my chest.
Yeah, cool. All right, we're moving in different directions. No,
Yeah, noted. Exactly. What was I gonna ask you? As far as like, okay, so you said like the vulnerability, but was there anything else that you've learned, and not necessarily from like your bachelor relationship, but just relationships in general overall, other lessons that you have learned that you are using to take into your future dating experiences, and just like what type of relationship you're looking for in the future, like how have things changed since too?
to really listen to my gut, I would say. And that I don't know if my gut has ever been wrong, but I've definitely ignored what my gut is saying. And like your gut and your mind can want two different things. But I think the biggest piece for me is understanding what I deserve, and also not being as not being scared to walking away if, in a situation where I'm like disrespected, or speaking up when I'm disrespected. And you have these moments where it's like you might speak up and say something, and then a few hours or days later you retract and you're like, well, shoot, was I in the wrong? What, did I come off too strong? It's like, no, you didn't. Like, you were disrespected. You should have stood up for yourself, and kind of just being confident in what your gut is telling you, and going with that, and not really shying away regardless of what the other person says. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've been leading into just even this new life where I'm dating, is that once I see something that doesn't sit well with me, and that doesn't mean that you're not willing, like, oh, someone has to be perfect,
Right?
other people will be willing to work with you, right? But like, we know when like something's a huge flag, it's okay to listen to that, and it's okay to like not re-navigate right away.
Yeah.
This thing that I've been listening to, for sure.
For sure. What would be maybe a red flag that you may have overlooked before that you don't now?
Oh, I think the biggest thing for me is that someone has to know what their like dreams and goals are, and like what they're putting their energy towards. And like, like I said before, I'm a very passionate person, and there's going to be moments where I feel lost, or I'm in transition, and we're all humans, we're all going to feel lost. But I think it's really, really important for people to know what they want to put their energy towards, and not be doing like that like intense core soul searching that we're doing in our like young 20s. Like, I already done that, and I know who I am, I know what I want, I know what I believe in, and I need to be with somebody who knows all of those things. Because with the platform that I come with, like, that is also baggage, and like, you are in a scene where you can lose who you are, and it's really important for the person that's with me, regardless of what the public says or what the tabloids say, you have to know who you are. You have to be confident as hell with who that person is, because if you're not, you're going to get eaten alive. And I can't be the person to remind you every single day of who you are. I can be the person to remind you of what you mean to me and what I see in you. But at the end of the day, honey buns, you got to know who you are, because I know who I am. And so like, that's like the biggest thing, that moving forward, it's like, you have to know exactly who that is, and you can't waver with that.
So good. Yeah. Mic drop on that. I love that.
There's just going to be issues. We're going to have insecurity issues. We're going to have confidence issues. You don't know what you want to do with your life. Like, there's no direction. And I can't soul search for you. You can only do that for yourself.
Exactly. This came up for me through dating, like, someone that is not, obviously we're on social media, like it's part of our job in a sense now. Right. And so it's like, but someone that is not on social media, them communicating, like, I'm very vulnerable. I share not too much. I may have used to in the past, but I share things that maybe not everybody needs to know about. And, I'm just very vulnerable and things like that. And, but that was like a concern of this gentleman's, was like, you put a lot of your life out there and I don't. And I was like, well, I I think with anyone, we would have that healthy, like that conversation around healthy boundaries, but like, what is your thought on that? Like, essentially, like, I want someone that's going to want to be comfortable being seen on my social media. Like,
Yeah.
it's inevitable. You would be dating someone who came from a reality TV show. I'm going to have a tabloid. Like, your picture is going to be in People magazine at some point, probably. Like,
yeah, that's kind of, yeah.
like,
And I mean, I would love somebody who's doesn't have to be a part, like it isn't super intensely invested in social media. I'm really not like that either.
Yeah.
But like you said, you have to be okay with it to some extent, because it's like when we're going to these events, or if I'm going to red carpet, like of course I'm going to want my person there eventually with me, and like you have to be okay with doing that. So it's like it's all about compromise.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you have to willingly share as much as I share on social media.
Exactly.
But you have to also understand the world that I come with, and you have to be somewhat accepting of that, because frankly, that's a part of me and who I am right now.
Yeah.
So want that, or are willing to be a part of that to some extent, and if you're just like, nope, then it's like, well, that's part of our world right now. So,
right. Yeah.
that would be really stressful to not
I know.
ever be able to acknowledge who you're with either.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because I haven't had I had a very public relationship, of course, but outside of that, like I haven't had like a long-term relationship, and like this October it'll be 10 years, which sounds crazy. But I just like dicked around for a while, and then I did Love is Blind and stuff, and had a situationship that was a situationship. And my emotions were just caught up for too long. But I dated some guys here and there, but just nothing has come to pass, and that's totally fine. But yeah, it's just like and maybe this is part of my ego, but like I haven't had a picture with a boyfriend in almost 10 years. Like I am like so excited to like post a damn picture of me and a man. This is my boyfriend, and he is posting pictures of me. Like I am his prize. He is my prize. Like I just am like really excited.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Will.
It's gonna mean so much more,
I know it will.
So
definitely will. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to like get your your thoughts on that. Okay, so I know you said like motivational speaking that you're getting into and everything. With such a profound platform that you have, what types of projects are you currently working on? And is there something that like, you're releasing or doing something like this year that we need to be eyes open for?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I've been kind of focusing on this year is my project that's called My Impact. And it was me launching my Michelle Young official website, where I'm promising my mission on focusing, making an impact every single month. So what do I do? So what I do is I shoot out this nomination poll. All of my audience followers, they can submit different nonprofits, organizations, foundations, causes that they want me to focus on. I take them back to my team. We vet them all to make sure that they're all using their money like they say they do. Right. And then I throw 3 up back on my story, and I have my audience vote on it. And for the rest of the month, I'm able to focus on that nonprofit of just amplifying their voices. And so what I really want to do with this is just really focus on going back to basics and really changing the game of influencing, because it's become so materialistic with buy this and now buy this. And it's not the fact that I won't ever be selling products, because yes, we do sell products and to that extent, but the products that I'm selling I genuinely am using, I genuinely stand behind. And a lot of times the brands are also partnering with me to make an impact as well. And so I'm challenging not only the brands that I work with, but my audience as well, to make an impact, to join in on the impact that I'm making, and kind of really just bring back the more positive sides of social media. You see like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge that went around and just reamed in so many just different sponsorships and funds and raising awareness through this simple task. And that's like the side of social media I love. And those are the benefits of social media love, and not the tabloids and everything like that. So yeah, so it's just really truly using social media for good and using my reach to connect with people, to challenge them, to make an impact, and to inspire. And so that's my focus.
That's so neat. I love that. And it gives you an opportunity, I'm sure, to like learn about these different nonprofits that you may not be aware of either. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's been a little sweet spot, so it's been good.
Yeah, that's really neat. Well, congratulations and everything. That's so cool. I love that. I need to, that is something I really need to like focus on, is trying to find a nonprofit that I'm like very passionate about. And,
And it might be even more than a few. And yeah, just Michelle Young, even on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. We're just doing a lot with raising awareness for a bunch of different nonprofits. And I've had a lot of audience members and fans who've really connected with some of the nonprofits already that I've showcased. And so yeah, it might be a good spot for you to check out, to figure out what to stand with.
That's so cool. Well, I love that for you. And did I see that you're doing a Trova trip? Are you doing something with Blake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Blake Moynes will start out with a Trova trip, but then what we're doing is we're extending it in. It's going to be all about education, community, wildlife conservation. And so that's going to be my September project for my impact and what I'm doing.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love following his stuff. I think his passion is just, felt through the phone.
I think it's really cool. And just people with big platforms, really focus on not necessarily the making money aspect of it, which making money is great and powerful too, but really kind of like focusing and donating and impacting. And so, yeah, really connect with Blake on that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's like so nice to meet you and talk with you. I'm like, I could talk to you forever now. I feel like I say that with all my guests, but that's how I vet my guests. I'm like, I feel like I've like known you forever, and
love that. No, it's been awesome to chat with you here, and I might reach out to you for some advice on adrenal glands.
Yeah.
Recharging, because I clearly need that and going through it right now.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely, I got you. I will definitely help you. Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, girl. If you loved this episode, please download, share, rate, and review. If you are ready to step into that next level version of you and grow your business and bank account, it's time to unleash your goddess magic and chase life with Kelly. You can start this epic expansion journey by diving into the Goddess Magic course bundle found at chaselifetogether.com. Please connect with me on Instagram at Chase Life with Kelly. Join the Chase Life with Kelly Facebook community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, create the life you crave, babe, and chase life with Kelly.